watching Local News 8 at 10. Local people, local news.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Carol is off tonight because of the weather and the bad roads. It's the one thing we just can't seem to get away from. So let's go right to Michael Coates for a first look at what we can expect tonight and tomorrow.
Well, Jay, we're getting hit with a good little last hurrah of wet weather. Now, this is pretty much the last strongest punch that we're seeing with the storm system. Rain and snow showers, which will continue tonight into the overnight hours. We're picking up mostly rain at this hour on Viper radar, with snow into the higher elevation, some heavy snow in around the Teton Pass and around the Grand Tetons. But we actually are expecting to see, again, the worst of it tonight, as most of us are going to bed, and then a lot of the stuff will be drying up as we head through tomorrow afternoon. Winter weather advisories for the Snake River Plain, winter storm warnings for the mountains surrounding the Snake River Plain. All of this expires tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., but what's not expiring is the flood warning, because temperatures tomorrow are still going to be well above freezing in the afternoon. And we're going to be looking for high flooding potential. Right now, 34 Idaho Falls, 36 Pocatello, 30 Jackson, 27 in Salmon, 25 in Island Park, 37 for Boise. And the wind speeds, look at this, sustained wind speeds at 29 miles an hour in Idaho Falls, 18-mile-an-hour winds in Pocatello. When I come back, I'll talk more about the dropping temperatures for the weekend. Jay.
All right, thank you, Michael. And with conditions the way they have been all day, it's no surprise that we have several road closures around the area. U.S. Highway 32 has been closed from Ashton to Teutonia. Highway 33 from Newdale to Teutonia is also closed, and Highway 34 from Soda Springs to the Wyoming line has been closed as well. In the early morning hours tonight, Teton Pass will also be closed. That closure starts at 3 a.m. so crews can do avalanche control. Several other roads in Grand Teton National Park were closed earlier today because of weather conditions. You can find the details on our website at localnews8.com. You know, all the snow these last few weeks has workers around the state working lots of overtime to keep the roads clear. For the city of Blackfoot, there have been a lot of complaints. Local News 8's Febin Kasahun went along for a ride with one plow driver to find out how things are actually going, and she says she gained a new perspective and appreciation for them and their job.
Old Man Winter isn't catching a break, especially for us in eastern Idaho. We haven't had this much snow for a while, and what some people are forgetting is it's hard work clearing the streets. I decided to see for myself just how hard are our city plowers working.
We usually come in at 1 o'clock in the morning and we plow the streets of Blackfoot until we're done. It's usually 10, sometimes 1 o'clock. And usually our day starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, but when we got to plow, it starts at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's Brandon Whitworth. He says he's been working as a snowplow driver for about 5 to 6 years. With only a handful of guys working as a snowplow driver, he says it's an extensive job.
There's 7 of us that work for the street department. We have our own routes that we do. It's a pretty big route, so we just go until we get it done.
Their protocol is 3 to 4 inches of snow and rising. When it snows more than that, just like last night, they work 12-hour shifts, non-stop and no breaks.
We're tag teaming it today to get our main routes done. We won't do our residential around houses, because we won't have time for that.
Even with the tag team, Brandon says it's still a 12-hour shift. Recently, the city of Blackfoot has had numerous complaints about snowplows. Brandon adds that it's mostly with people who have parked along the streets being snowed in.
You know, we're just doing our job. Our plows only are directional, so everything goes to the right, and that's the best we can do. We just open up the roads.
Now, after Febin took her ride with Brandon, we got notice that the city of Blackfoot has issued a snow removal proclamation. So starting next Tuesday, the city is asking people not to park on the streets east of the railroad tracks between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And then on Wednesday of next week, the city says to avoid parking on streets west of the railroad tracks between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. They said people will be allowed to park in the alleys for these 2 days. And the city is also suspending the rule of clearing sidewalks, as city crews could be placing snow on them. Vehicles not moved during these times could be towed at the owner's expense if they're left in the street. There are exclusions for the downtown area. You can find all the details on this at localnews8.com. And as the snow keeps coming, so do the snow days at schools all across Idaho. After several districts have canceled classes multiple days in a row, we decided to check on local policy for this issue. We spoke with officials at Pocatello-Chubbuck School District about the situation. This year has been kind of an odd one for them, since it's the first time snow days have been declared at all since 2012. For schools, the big rule is student safety, but they also have school time requirements they have to meet. If problems continue, districts may have to extend the school year or school hours.
We could extend the school day, for instance, if we needed more time. Or we could look at possibly taking a professional development day or a parent-teacher conference day and making it an instructional day.
If the cancellations continue, the district will have to consider those other options, but right now the district says schedules are fine, no adjustments necessary yet. More information on required instructional hours and snow day protocol is on our website at localnews8.com. Now, so far tonight, we've only heard from one school district announcing a closure for tomorrow. Fremont Joint County School District says they will cancel classes Wednesday because of the inclement weather. While Blackfoot continues to get its roads clear, Idaho Falls has tried to keep up with it, but at a very hefty cost. All the snow work has plowed right through the snow budget. City officials in Idaho Falls say they have already spent about 80% of their overall snow budget. That's 80% of a $1.1 million budget. Much of that money has gone into the contract work the city has for snow removal.
That we track essentially for contract snow removal is about $525,000. Of that, as of last week, we had spent about $400,000 of that budget.
Another major concern is the number of overtime hours employees have racked up since snowfall started. Those numbers and how they will affect the budget haven't been calculated yet. Frederickson says because we've had more snow already this year than in the past 5 years, they're concerned that they won't be able to stay within the budget. He says city council members are updated bi-weekly regarding the budget. In your Consumer Watch this evening, headlights on cars. It's something we should use anytime we drive at night or in difficult conditions. In the coming years, you're going to start to see major changes in the quality of those headlights on new cars. Local News 8's Chris Nessman is live in Idaho Falls. Now, Chris, starting this year, 2017, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety now takes headlight quality into account when deciding which cars are the safest. So how will that affect consumers?
Yeah, Todd, a lot of people are going to start to see changes as far as the type of headlight on the newer vehicles. The IIHS is the major third-party group that tests the safety of American vehicles, and every year they test them and now they are including headlights in those tests, and a lot of consumers pay attention to what they say. So if a car company wants to get more customers, they're going to pay attention to what the IIHS says, and they're going to follow what they can to make a top safety pick rating. When you think of safety features on cars, airbags and seatbelts typically come to mind. Now that the IIHS tests them for automotive safety ratings, headlights are just one more thing consumers can look at when hunting for a new safe car.
To be blunt with you, it is something that it should be a consideration, a major consideration is your visibility of driving the car at night.
The new ratings look into several factors, including how far ahead low and high beams travel, and how much the road is lit up relative to the darkness.
As you can tell by driving around tonight, even the lines on the roads are difficult to see, and if you can get the light in the right area, you can tell what lane you're supposed to be even traveling in.
The new test also measures how much glare headlights give to oncoming traffic and what direction they shine. Powerful lights aren't very safe if they blind other oncoming drivers. At Teton Toyota, we lined up an older car with a traditional halogen light with a new Corolla that had LEDs. The difference was easily apparent. The new car lit up what was ahead of it significantly better than the older car. For consumers, the obvious benefit is being able to see what's in front of you. That alone has the potential to help avoid accidents and save you money on car insurance.
But right now there's no discount for it. But I mean, obviously if you can have a better record or be a safer driver, then it's going to save you money that way.
While newer cars typically have much better headlights than the older ones, if you do happen to have more of the older traditional halogen lights, there are a couple things you can do to improve it. Simply cleaning off the lens, defogging it, and adjusting the angle of your beam to make sure it's exactly where it should be can honestly make a big difference on what you see at night. Reporting live in Idaho Falls, I'm Chris Nestman.
All right, thanks for something we don't often think of is the headlights. Teton Toyota, which helped us out in this story, said many of the newer model cars come standard with the better headlights, meaning consumers won't have to pay extra money to get the safety features they want. The man who pleaded guilty to killing a popular Blackfoot businessman last year was sentenced today. Dylan Grant Gibson will spend at least 3 years in prison and up to 15 years for vehicular manslaughter. In June of last year, Gibson crashed into the home of William Hong, causing a fire that killed Hong. Gibson has admitted he was under the influence of alcohol or drugs at the time of the crash. Idaho lawmakers got right to work today introducing the first bill of the session. Lawmakers want to clarify the language of the newly adopted constitutional amendment to ease legal concerns raised by Idaho's top elected officials. The first bill, introduced in the legislature's new season today, would define a brief clause in the constitutional amendment that expanded the Idaho legislature's power. The amendment, which voters approved in November, included language allowing lawmakers to not only reject rules created by the executive branch agencies, but also tweak them without the governor's approval. Governor Otter and Attorney General Lawrence Wasden have both warned that the constitutional amendment contains legally ambiguous wording. The bill must now go before a legislative hearing, but it has not yet been scheduled. In our national news tonight, Dylan Roof has been sentenced to death by a jury for shooting and killing 9 black churchgoers in a racially motivated attack. The admitted racist and convicted murderer acted as his own attorney in the sentencing phase. Speaking to the jury, he did not offer apologies and refused to argue that he was insane back in June of 2015 when he walked into a Bible study and killed 9 African-American churchgoers. Family members of the victims were there today at the sentencing.
Today we had justice for my sister. This is a very hollow victory because my sister's still gone.
The judge will formally sentence Roof tomorrow morning. Roof also faces a state trial in which he could face the death penalty once again. President Obama is saying farewell tonight. He traveled to his adopted hometown of Chicago for his big goodbye. ABC's Kenneth Moulton is there.
President Barack Obama's farewell.
Hello, Chicago. It's good to be home.
The 44th president, the first family, Vice President Joe Biden and his wife, surrounded by thousands of supporters in the place where it began, Chicago.
Now, this is where I learned that change only happens when ordinary people get involved and they get engaged and they come together to demand it.
The nation's first black president spoke of the historic nature of his presidency and the work of his administration, bringing the country back from recession, foreign policy, health care.
America is a better, stronger place than it was when we started.
Addressing income inequality, terrorism, and other threats to American democracy.
We all have to start with the premise that each of our fellow citizens loves this country just as much as we do.
The president's emotional moment, speaking about the first daughters and First Lady Michelle Obama.
You made the White House a place that belongs to everybody.
The president's message to supporters, a thank you, but also a call to action.
I'm asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours.
Trying to leave office the way he entered it, on a wave of hope.
Yes, we can. Yes, we did. Yes, we can. Thank you.
For these supporters, a big after-party here at McCormick Place for President Obama, his final trip on Air Force One. Kenneth Moulton, ABC News, Chicago.
President Obama is not expected to leave Washington before the inauguration again next week. More snow and cold on the way. We'll be right back with the full forecast.